Ladies and gentlemen, why are Singaporeans so high in IQ, so smart, so well educated, and yet so gullible? Well, there is a MediaCorp video that was just released. I find it very interesting. They actually make this claim, and unfortunately, I have to agree with them. Let's watch on and see what I meant by it. According to an international IQ survey, Japan, Taiwan are the only two countries that are ahead of us internationally, and Singapore ranks third in the world for being very high in IQ. So Singaporeans are very smart. We are all very well educated, and we're well ahead of all other countries, ahead of China, ahead of Hong Kong, ahead of Korea, ahead of US, ahead of Europe, and we are everywhere. But yet we are one of the most scammed countries in the world. That doesn't make sense, right? According to international survey, based on solely the amount of fraud, Singaporeans really kena jalan. Singaporeans act foolishly when we encountered with scams. The per capita losses rank one of the highest in the world, if not the highest, exceeding $4,000 a person. How is it that it's possible that Singaporeans are so smart, so well educated, yet we are so easily scammed? Is it because we are too smart for our own thinking, or we are just too kind and gullible? So let's analyze this, shall we? And so that we know where our vulnerabilities are and what our strengths are. So in Singapore, scams continue to rise significantly. In the first half of 2024, losses jumped nearly 25% to $300 million. And I'm sure the second half of 2024 will be the same amount or if not higher, causing Singapore to be one of the most scammed city in terms of per capita. I think we are almost reaching $1 billion worth of scam losses. Of all these kind of scams, the fraction of scam breakdown are these: e-commerce fraud, very common; job scams, phishing scams, investment scams, fake friends, other scams. I don't know where it captures love scam as well. I'm sure it's one of these as well. So it is many types of scams that Singaporeans across the board keep falling prey to these scams. And how can it be that given that we are so smart, so well educated, and yet so gullible? And before you go on and said, Mr. Lu, you're criticizing Singaporeans again. No, unfortunately, I was also scammed before. Rather, my company also was scammed before, and the losses are phenomenal as well. So, scam quotient and intelligence quotient are two different things. The ability to withstand yourself from being scammed and the intelligence quotient of how smart you are, I came to realize these are two different things altogether. I'm going to say a lot of things that are very controversial. I think it's important that we at least come to reality moments so that we know how to protect ourselves. The more we accept our vulnerabilities in terms of cultural upbringing, then the more we can protect ourselves. So these are my hypotheses, and I would like everybody to challenge or to comment on this hypothesis. Why are Singaporeans so vulnerable to scams? Number one reason, Singaporeans are ingrained to be very trusting of authority. So a lot of us have an incredible trust of our government, brought up in environment that we know that our government will only do good things for us. So majority of us are so well trained by not just our government, but the system that was set up. We learn to trust not just our government, in this case, our PAP government. We also learn to trust big organizations like, for example, Singtel, DBS, OCBC, and Singapore Airlines, and so on. So our companies are a hallmark of trust and integrity. So therefore, majority of Singaporeans rely on internet nowadays for daily activities and transaction. And because we are ingrained and brought up to trust government and legitimate institutions, usually government-backed institutions, the scammers identified these and now targeted for us. They usually impersonate government authorities, banks, and other authoritative institutions to carry out the fraud. How many times have you received calls that they say that we are from SingPost, we are from DBS, we are from Singtel, and they ask for your details and things like that. And every one of us generally will be ingrained to trust them. Unfortunately, of course, some of them are too obvious, but those very good ones are very difficult to detect. And this is where this is very important for us to learn that we have this vulnerability because we are ingrained from young to be very trusting of a good authority that Singapore is blessed with. The second thing that I've noted is that Singaporeans are very protected from young. We are in a very safe environment. We can leave things in a hawker center, valuables on a table, go and order our food, come back, and the thing is still there. There is a little chance that our things will be lost. How many times you have seen people just leave their valuables around and then go and order food and come back? You try that in Europe, you try that in Malaysia, and you try that in some of the other places, that thing will be gone in a flash. So Singaporeans are very protected from young by a very, very efficient and powerful Singapore police force. The rule of the law is not just harsh, but is enforced right to every single bit. So we are protected from young because our environment is very safe. As a result, we are very trusting and we let our guard down easily. Many other nationalities are brought up in harsh environment. Thus, they are not trusting by nature and very difficult to scam. Try to scam an Indian national. Very difficult. They are brought up in very tough environment. They're not easy to scam them. You try to scam an Israeli, for example. That's not easy. They are very brought up in very dangerous environment where life and death is concerned. It's very difficult to scam them. But Singaporeans are very protected from young. As a result, our environment is too comfortable. As a result, we let our guards down and therefore become very vulnerable. Another reason why Singaporeans cannot scam so much is because Singaporeans are very rich. In Singapore, our real GDP ranked the second highest in the world. Other than Luxembourg, we are ranked number two. We are way ahead of all the European countries. We are way ahead of US. We are way ahead of any other countries. And we are literally like a juicy piece of meat that is very vulnerable. Therefore, the scammers go after us. And that's a very serious problem. The scammers exploit our human vulnerabilities and they usually create a sense of urgency, greed, let you have a chance to take advantage of some 贪小便宜, some little or some big interest that you can have, causing you to lose focus, panic, and lose your ability to judge the situation. Very common, for example, right, in investment scams, suddenly you are added into a chat group where you see a lot of people chatting and telling you that, wow, there is so much good returns in this investment structure. The commission structure is so good, and you just need to pay a small fee. You'll be able to enjoy all this kind of return. Right? A lot of Singaporeans just jump straight into it, simply naive and unaware of the risk. The scams can be big, large scams that make you lose hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars. But scams can be so small that let you buy mooncake at a very good price, durian day trips in Malaysia at a good price. A lot of the Facebook deals that you see are just too good to be true. And these are offers that are just bait you for scams. And Singaporeans keep falling for them. And it's a very, very sad thing. What I super don't understand is this thing called love scam. And it is unbelievable, in my opinion, unbelievable. Both men and women would fall in love with someone they have never met before, just a picture or even a video of people that develop a relationship over the internet, either over voice or even messages, just throw their heart out, throw their life saving out towards them. Social media and dating app have become a place where all these sweet talkers just go after unbelievable people. They fatten you up with a lot of flattery, say that you're very pretty, you're so smart, I love you, I love you, I love you, and that kind of thing, and lure you under a trap and later say, I really found this very interesting investment opportunity. Come and join me. I'm in need of certain funds because my business just got into some trouble and things like that. And Singaporeans blindly pour unbelievable large amount of money into this love scam and they are left with nothing. And a lot of times, the people who fall for love scams, most of them are not young, naive girl or young, warm hormones, uncontrolled men of army age or things like that. These are men and women way past their 50s or 60 years old. Wake up. Who on earth are going to love you and like you at this age, Yeah, so it is so commonsensical and yet so unbelievable that we fall for these things. It basically means that every one of us have our own vulnerabilities, and we really need to know that no one is unscammable. I've talked at length over this Myanmar, now Cambodia, and certain other places. This is called pig butchering. These syndicates are thriving in tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of scammers. They are well trained, they have proper script. These scammers are victims themselves. Generally, they are lured by high paying promises, and once they fall into these places, they are being beaten, they are sent electrical shocks and torture, and their life depend on it to scam other people. And as a result, they are really, really very motivated to scam all of us. And Singaporeans fall a lot into these scams. Of course, there are some people that willingly join these scam organizations, but I think these are now in big, huge groups that are falling for us. Scammers are now everywhere. In Singapore, 74% of those who fall into scams are under the age of 50 years old. But those that are under 50 years old, when you're being scammed, you lost less money. But those that are above 50, you have your CPF, your life savings all accumulated. Your losses tend to be a lot higher than the other group, losing hundreds of thousands, some cases even millions of dollars, with their life saving wiped out in an instance. The one that caused people to lose the most money are not love scams, okay? Because that to me I find to be most ridiculous. Without a surprise, the one that causes the most scam losses are those involved fake government officials. They are losing a lot of money. This is sometimes unbelievable. Most of the scammers, when they call you, have very heavy China accent Mandarin or Indian accent English, and we fall for them, right? This is really something that is unbelievable how gullible and how vulnerable Singaporeans are. And this is something that we really need to know that this risk is very, very high. We have an anti-scam center in collaboration with local banks, is using automated robotic programs to conduct reverse tracing and detecting of scams. So the government is trying their best to help. In 4 months, they successfully recovered $143 million for 13,000 victims. Wonderful. Local banks have now introduced money lock features, which can block scammers. But unfortunately, these money lock features also restrict some of our financial flexibility. For old folks, please ask everyone to use all these features. Even Senior Minister Lee Hsien Loong has been deep fake to sell crypto to con people. And this is something so sophisticated right now that people of authority, of trust, are now, their videos are being used to scam people. And this is something very serious that we need to be very careful of. Dear fellow Singaporeans, in summary, let's accept that Singaporeans, we are vulnerable to be scammed. And unfortunately, we are brought environment, they are too well protected, too well secured, that we let our guard down. Let me advise everybody on this. Learn to doubt every unsolicited good deals or good investment or nice sweet talkers. Learn to doubt everyone. Never click on unknown links. Don't take any calls that you don't recognize. Don't disclose personal information. Always keep your password, your phone secure. Always verify when there are money transfer that is needed. Always protect yourself. This is something that we cannot afford to lose our life saving. There's just too much money being lost. I came to the realization that I'm vulnerable as well. I always warn my family, everybody, don't think that these things will never hit us. Always protect ourselves. And so let me warn everybody, please protect yourselves. Would you agree with me that Singaporeans are so intelligent and yet so vulnerable? Please let me know your comments, and I'm happy to see you in a day or two. Bye bye.